Bienvenue, welcome to another live stream. This is the Karen Bashford Empowerment Mentor Show, or recently renamed to the Sloth or Beaver Show, I guess. I'll explain in a minute, but Karen Bashford is an empowerment mentor. She particularly works with women of a certain age to help them find themselves so they can effectively fix themselves within. I would say she's more of a catalyst than an active product. Her whole concept is to get you to find the solutions from within. Just get that out of the way. However, and she's still very much open for that kind of work. She's very happy to talk to you about what it is that you feel is holding you back and help you find the way through. But the thing that was really been one of the achievements of your professional life, I would say, personally, is she created a toolkit called the Sloth or Beaver Toolkit, and that is a wonderful tool to enable you as a person or as a small group up to 6 to explore. Would you say explore, Karen?
Yeah.
Okay. By asking questions, mulling through the answers, having open discussion, or just ruminating on these topics to help you find perhaps a way through, or more importantly, to rediscover parts of you that you've always known are there, but you've never quite brought to the surface. So welcome to the show, Karen. And today is an interesting one. Today's topic is dreams do not disappoint. What do you mean by that?
Well, we dream, and usually dreams are A, to give us some guidance,
Right.
or B, to show us what we're capable of and what we desire. And if we're shown them in dreams, generally it would mean that we're more than capable of achieving them if we allow ourselves to. So as such, dreams are a precursor of how your life can be if you allow it.
Would you say, it's a difficult area, do they foretell?
They can do. It depends on A, why the dream is coming up. If it's something going on in your life, it can warn you, but it can also show you that if you're really willing to put the effort in and to take action, you can create whatever you want, and your dreams will show you what you're capable of. So yeah, they could be.
No, in my experience of dreams, they tend to fall into 3 categories. One, banal, just pastiche of stuff that's going on, almost feels like just a weird misremembering of stuff that's happened, and
you're processing. You're allowing yourself to process.
Right. Then another one, almost either dramatic and slightly negative, and perhaps almost in a nightmare.
Well, you're warning. You're being warned.
Right. And the other one is a happy, joyful, perhaps almost a remembrance of a great time, or maybe but something very just happy and almost inconsequential, but happy. You know, like skipping down the road with your loved ones, etc., that sort of thing.
But that again could be something you're wanting and desiring unconsciously. So you're dreaming about it, even if it feels like a remembrance. It's actually reminding you that you're capable of having that.
Now, I've been told many times that we all dream, but so we don't always remember the dreams.
No, we don't.
And I often get snippets of dreams, and they're usually fairly positive or banal. You know, I dreamt at one point I was swimming around in a goldfish bowl. When I finished, I climbed out and I went on with my day. So there was nothing particularly negative about that. It was quite pleasant, as far as I recall. Last night's dream, however, was slightly odd. Very comfortable in a very tall Tudor chair in front of a long table full of every delicacy one could throw a stick at. And I filled my plate and ate of it, and it didn't taste negative, didn't taste positive, just tasted of nothing. And I just remember feeling disappointed, not upset, not worried. I didn't feel like I was in any danger, but I just remember thinking, oh, I remember it was the first time I ever ate a supermarket cake. thinking, you know, like when you eat them and they just taste of sweet and nothing else. I remember, you know, but if you go to a good Italian or a French or whatever restaurant and you eat a sweet there, and oh, this is how it should be. It was one of those things, and it just felt like I just felt disappointed.
Well, maybe the word disappointment reflects on how you're feeling about life presently, or possibly something that's been happening that caused you to be disappointed with yourself.
Yeah, I think the first might be on it. I think I am feeling like, well, I was expecting to be somewhere else at this stage. I think December is being quite trying for a lot of businesses, and I certainly have found it trying for myself. But at the same token, if I say to myself, but resilience is key, certainly in my business, and just pushing forward and looking for other people that you can work with, absolutely key. And so I just keep pushing forward, and you know, I can't let it hold me back. But by the same token, it just makes me question about whether or not I didn't feel fed up. I remember that, thinking about this morning. Was I fed up? No, I didn't. Felt very comfortable, just a bit disappointed in that nothing tasted the way it looked. That's why it was. You know, it was something delicious.
Listen to the words you're saying. I felt comfortable and I felt disappointed.
Yeah. I didn't feel like in many dreams where you're sat somewhere or whatever. I believe, you know, you try and move and you can't move, and it fills you full of fear and worry. I didn't feel fear or worry at all. I just felt that I'd somehow I was expecting things to be nicer, tastier. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, and if life isn't producing those moments where you feel really happy, you will be disappointed. But you can still be comfortable in that situation. So perhaps there's this slight kick up the backside, perhaps.
Yes, which is what I gave myself this morning, and actually immediately got positive results out of that. So you know, it shows me the way. But our dreams always portends of future events, or are they a reflection of your inner monologue?
It can be a reflection. I know that sometimes I have dreams that take me back into childhood, excuse me, that I don't remember much about, but all of a sudden there's a memory that comes up, and it's like, okay, so why am I remembering this? What is it that this relates to that's happening in my life now that perhaps I need to look at? I have a vivid memory of a dream once where I was in the car with my family going to my grandmother's, and we'd literally got to the top of a bump over a bridge, and we had to stop, but the car behind didn't, and we just got shunted. And at the time it was like no big deal, but it wasn't until afterwards and I had that dream that I started to realize it was related to my life as I was living it then, of how I kept feeling that I was being shunted from behind, as if I had no control over the pushing forward. I couldn't stop that movement. It was almost as if I was trying to tell myself, Karen, you've got to stop this movement. You can't keep going. You've got to stop. But it was a clear indicator. And as I say, it was a memory that I didn't necessarily have very well. It was just something that happened. And yet it come up at that moment in time where I needed to just look and say, do I want to just keep going forward all the time, or is it time to just stop for a bit? But the car was clearly indicating that there was no option as far as I was concerned. I hadn't looked at the options I could take to stop that movement forward. And
so it was a metaphor for right.
Yeah.
And had that ever happened in your life the actual event?
Yeah, it
Oh,
actually
right,
happened. Yeah, it happened one. I think we were going over one Saturday to see my mum's mother.
right.
Yeah.
Wow. And I mean, you've told me in the past that you have black spots in your memory. You don't remember
Absolutely.
track to it.
I do not remember much at all. I think the most that I remember are events that really upset me, or that my family had told me, and when thinking back over it, it was something that really made me laugh, because I have a sort of two sides. I'm a Gemini, so I have two characters basically. I have the dark side and I have the light side. And more often than not, the memories that come up for me are the darker sides, the sides where I felt trapped or felt that I wasn't good enough and things like that, because that was my relationship with my basically, and they were the things that stayed. Whereas the lighter side, because they were so rare, it was almost like I buried them, and I still don't have a lot of good memories of my family. So it's a case of, well, if they come up, it's a reminder that despite everything, life can be good and at times was good.
So, in general terms, how should we treat our dreams, or at least the ones that we can remember and perhaps even reconcile?
Well, if you can't remember them, you can always ask yourself before you go to bed and remind yourself that you can remember your dreams, because you just need to give your mind the instructions that, if there's something you need to remember, you can remember them.
Okay.
But the way you should look at dreams is they are just another form of you reviewing your life. I'm a kind of person that says to somebody, well, why? Why are you doing this? Or why is this happening? Because there is always a reason behind something. The same. They can either be telling you that you're ignoring a part of yourself that needs to be addressed. You're processing what's been going on in your life, and you're gradually releasing it, because dreams are a very good way for your body to be able to release what it's stored that is not serving you. So it can be just processing things. So it can be good things. It can be things that you would really love in your life. And
Okay.
it's just asking the question when you remember a dream is, what does this relate to? Why am I dreaming this? Is it something that I want? Is it something I'm worried about? Or is it something that I just need to deal with because it's a memory that needs to come through and be released? Or is it something that's happening in my life now that I'm being told about for me to perhaps make different decisions?
All right. Okay. I am now going to pivot slightly, as I often do in these things, and I want to talk about two things immediately. So the first thing, of course, is that, as we mentioned at the beginning, Karen is an empowerment mentor, and she's still very much active in that area. So if you want to start your wellness journey, perhaps the first place you should go to is karenbashford.com. And this is a good place and a good point to start that relationship, both with her and also with yourself, to try and ask those questions that perhaps you're not getting answers to, and find a way back to control and perhaps moving forward positively. I think that's a great thing that you can be doing now. Also officially known as the Sloth or Beaver Show. And the reason for that is because of the Sloth or Beaver Toolkit. So, first question first, what is the Sloth or Beaver Toolkit?
It came about because I realized that we don't have conversations about a lot of life that is relevant to us. And therefore, it's a toolkit that has a set of cards based on certain subjects and a visual board which allows you to monitor where you are in relation to certain issues in your life, whether you're in that part where you're still allowing the past to influence how you're behaving, whether you're at that stage where Beaver has stepped in and allowing you to now start clearing, or whether Beaver is the one that's helping you build a better future. Whereas Sloth is the one that's with you from birth, if not before, and takes you on that journey. It never actually leaves you, because Sloth is everything that you've decided about your emotions and things like that, that will be influencing you as you go through life. However, the cards that go with Sloth or Beaver are questions and reflections that enable you to look at how you're behaving, what you're thinking, the influences your old thoughts are having on your present day. But they're also a good way for you to actually open a discussion if there's a group of you, that you can talk about a topic, that you can talk about something that once we start opening up and sharing, realizes us to the reality that perhaps things aren't as bad as we think they are, or that there's something that we can do because somebody else shares something that makes you realize, actually, that's a really relevant point. Why haven't I thought of that? Because we can't think of everything for ourselves. So it's about opening discussions.
Right. So it's not necessarily defined, not necessarily going to give you the answer. It's more going to prompt you to ask yourself the questions and try. Right. Okay. So as I said, a catalyst. Perfect. Right. Now, the other thing is, if you notice at the top right-hand corner, I've changed the logo. So it's in fact a QR code that will take you to slothorbiewer.com. You'll see that down below for individual therapists or families. And it really is, it's a tool that will allow a small group of people, up to 6, to really ask questions and clear the area and perhaps cut through all the, dare I say it, bullshit that stops us from asking those questions of ourselves. Now, first of all, we've made it a kind of part of the show that we take a couple of questions from the toolkit. And I was hoping you might have something about today's topic of the show. Or if not, that we can talk about something so people get a flavor of the kind of questions that are inside and what the format of those questions are.
Okay, I'll go for relationship ones, which are in the purple wrapper.
Right, and there's a reason for the colours, is there not, for the different groups? What are the six cards that you got? 6 groups.
You have health, you have relationships, you have business, life, intimate relationships, and money mindset.
And when you buy the Sloth or Beaver toolkit, which at the moment for the excellent price of £75, excellent value, you get what in the pack? You get a board which represents your life path.
And you then get 1 set of cards, your choice which set you want. And if you choose to, you can later on add to that set that you have, or you can choose to buy the toolkit itself plus all the cards, so that you can buy it as a discount because you're taking all the cards. Free posted in the UK, so long as you give me time to get it posted out to you, you can get it as a Christmas present if you choose.
Yes, and it's a lovely present.
A game, well, not a game, as a tool to enliven your Christmas, perhaps?
I would say, dare I say it, perhaps with a little libation around the fire or around the Christmas tree, enable you, especially if you've got older children, so I would say 17 and upwards, perhaps. Is that about right? It's really suitable for...
Technically, I have to say it's for 18 or overs because obviously mental protection. But as long as there's a sensible adult present,
right,
some of the questions would be very, very relevant.
And it's more than suitable for one person to dip into it every so often, pull a card, read it out, or at least look at it and ask themselves the question within. To that point, to that end, what have you got for me?
Okay, so we have 2 cards. What role does forgiveness play in your relationships? When someone has hurt you, you may carry anger and resentment that festers within you. This can lead to disease, therefore releasing your feelings is vital. Forgiveness is an empowering process. It does not mean you condone the behavior of the person or persons. It means you free yourself from your emotionally charged responses, allowing you to let go of past hurt. So if you consider dreams can be a way of releasing, so this card is very relevant in a sense, because in actually discovering that you're processing something to release it, you can then forgive yourself. And forgiveness is so important. And it's not always about forgiving the person. It's about forgiving yourself for not knowing better.
Yes,
Because
actually,
so
I think
quick to judge.
absolutely we all are. I think there's when presented with something that's perhaps not going our way or whatever, we either turn our gaze outwards and say it's your fault, or we turn our gaze inwards and say it's because you didn't do it right. You're the one at fault. And even relating to my dream about being sat at a table where the food tasted of nothing, it's caused me to take pause and say, maybe it's because I'm not putting the effort in the right direction. And I took that action and came up with something this morning which has already gotten interest, and it was prompted by reflection on that. So forgiveness, some people see that as akin to weakness because it makes
No, it's definitely not a weakness. In actual fact, I would say it's a strength, because if you can forgive yourself for being human and making mistakes, isn't that a strength?
Yes, I guess it is. And I think it probably helps if one is able to get to that forgiveness. Some people, Karen, we both come across them at different times, don't consider forgiveness an option. And once you've transgressed, or and also they're unwilling to change their perception. Once they've made that assignation, that's what happened, that's the way it was. Doesn't matter if the truth flies in the face of that, they won't. And therefore, all sorts of explosive things and actions can take place on the back of it. If, however, you can get to a point where forgiveness is an option, it potentially can strengthen a relationship, I would have thought.
Yes, if you consider, if somebody has hurt you, there is always going to be an emotional pain attached. And yet, it could be one silly word they said that caused that pain. Are you going to destroy years of friendship because of one mistake? If you can forgive the person for being the person they are, because we all say things without thinking. We all do it. We can't help it. We just want to respond, so we don't take time to think of our answers. So we can say things in haste that lands up hurting. But that doesn't mean to say they deliberately hurt you. They just were not thinking. So why are you then putting so much energy into facing off that person and saying, oh, you hurt me, I didn't like that? When in actual fact, it's just a reflection of how you felt, because everything that happens to us is a guidance to say, well, maybe you need to look at this. Why are you responding to this? So if you're not prepared to forgive that person, at least be prepared to forgive yourself for having that response, because in forgiving yourself, it then allows you to perhaps not have the same reaction further down the line.
So Karen Bashford is at the moment reading questions. You're about to hit our second question from stacks of cards that go along with the Sloth or Beaver toolkit. And if you want to find out more, either scan the QR code or follow the link down below, which is slothourbeaver.com. What is the second card you've got there?
Well, the second one says, congratulations, you are here for a purpose, and even if you haven't discovered it yet, it will be aligned with what you love doing. What is important in your life that gives you joy and excites you? How do you feel when you engage in activities that light you up? Are there parts of your life that call you to dive deeper, uncovering the purpose that brings you fulfillment? Again, dreams will guide you.
Okay,
If
so
choosing,
but if our hobby is collecting cornflake wrappers, that's not something necessarily to throw yourself into, is it?
not necessarily, but what can you associate that collection? What kind of career could you possibly choose to step into that allows you to have that passion? Okay, not necessarily for cornflake covers, but obviously for something that allows you to be involved in collection, or perhaps preserving, because if you think, if you're collecting those covers, are you collecting them to preserve them? So what is it that you could do that would enable you to perhaps be involved in preserving something that could in future be of value, or is already of value and needs to be preserved?
Yeah. So I'm thinking now. So as most people know, I'm a musician, and I love doing it. However, I was professional for 7 or 8 years, but back then in the 80s, the industry was very evil and nasty and basically stomped on everyone. These days, maybe it is the right time for me to try and take that further, because it's certainly something that lights me up, using your own description. It's a thing that makes me feel alive and doing what I'm meant to do, sort of thing. But I've never, not in the last umpteen years, managed to turn that corner, to turn it into something that I could consider a career again.
But does it have to be a full-time career? It can be a part-time career. It can be just something that you do that brings just pure joy to you because you're doing what you love. It doesn't necessarily have to make money. It's the purpose behind what it is. So in music, we well know that music lights people up, regardless of what kind of music it is. So you'll then be doing something that can help others improve their lives. That's the purpose in itself. But it can be something that's not purposeful in the sense of it giving something to other people. It's purposeful in what you are doing for yourself.
So thank you so much, everyone, for watching. As you probably know by now, this is Karen Bashford, and we talk weekly about topics. It has been a bit hijacked by the Sloth or Beaver Toolkit, but that's not a bad thing. If you want to find out more about the Sloth or Beaver Toolkit, and once again, if you want to perhaps even just look at starting a wellness journey to find your way back to yourself, she has a website of karenbashford.com, but also down below, as you can see, slothourbeaver.com. The toolkit is an amazing present for individuals, therapists, families. Basically, it's really a standout and interesting addition to help people ask questions that perhaps under normal conditions they either wouldn't think of, or maybe they'll be not scared, but apprehensive. Okay, scared to ask. Use it as a prompt to be able to delve in deeper and perhaps find a way in which your family can be even closer and see the value in each other as a support mechanism. Thank you so much, Karen Bashford, and thank you all for watching. I saw a whole bunch of you turn up there for a second, and thank you very much. If you want to find out more, keep watching. We'll go through other cards, we'll ask more questions, and we'll be talking more about both Sloth or Beaver and also empowering yourself to find the answers from within. Until next week, please keep your feet on the ground, keep reaching for the stars, and please try and look after that mental health. Until next week, bye-bye.
Bye.